morning, everyone. It's Danny, your equine manager at Hope Haven, back for another Happenings at Hope. This time we're going to do some training. So I just want to give you kind of what a general overview of the horses' training has been looking like since they've been having our little time off before we start the winter session. So if you want to come over this way and look at our handy dandy whiteboard. So today is Monday. And so today, O'Malley, Bob, Kit, Blizzard, Lily, Paris, Princess, Taylor, Abe, Gavin, and George are all getting worked. And you'll notice that most of them have, hi Blizzard, a little L beside their name. So L, just for shorthand for me, means lunging. And we lunge on Monday just because they've had the weekend off, so some of them might be feeling a little fresh, a little silly. So Mondays we just take to get everyone back in work mode and get them stretching and working themselves before we hop on Tuesday. So then if we move over to Tuesday, just so you guys can get a picture of what each horse's week will look like. So on Tuesday, we have all these horses going. So some of them that didn't get worked on Monday will be getting lunged on Tuesday, but everybody else that's already been worked on Monday has a P beside their name, and that's for poles. So they're gonna have pole work on Tuesday. So any of the horses that can canter, we're going to be working walk, trot, canter over the poles. Any of the horses that cannot canter will be doing walk, trot, poles. And then Princess has groundwork beside her name every day, just because her breathing hasn't been the greatest, so I don't want to work her too hard, especially in the cold. So any day that it's nice and warm and her breathing is good, she'll be working a little harder, but for most days she's been doing groundwork so that she's ready to go for her lessons and nice and responsive to her leader. And then Wednesday, you can see anyone that did not do poles on Tuesday is going to do poles on Wednesday. And then anyone who's already been lunged and has done poles is going to have an LW beside their name. So that stands for lateral work. And lateral work is like your leg yield, your shoulder in, your haunches in, anything like that to kind of get them supple and bending and flexing, to get them nice and soft and working from front to back into the contact. And then Thursday is our big lateral work day. So anyone that has only been lunged and done pulls is going to do lateral work on Thursday. And then Friday is our groundwork day. So anyone that has already been lunged, gone over pulls, and has done lateral work is going to have a groundwork day on Friday. And so not every horse goes every day. We have every horse going about 4 days a week. So they have 3 days off and then 4 days on to get through lunging, pulls, lateral work, and groundwork. And so today is Monday, and Blizzard is my first horse to go. She's excited and ready to go. So she is going to help us show you how to lunge a horse. So we're going to head on into the arena, and Heidi is already in there with Kit. So I'm going to say, George. We are going to get Miss Blizzard all ready to lunge. All right, so right here, I have what's called my lunge line. So this is what helps me control where Blizzard's going and help me keep her on a circle, and also to control what gait she's in. And I'm also going to grab a lunge whip, and then we're going to head on down to CN so that Heidi can head out with Kit. Just before we get started, we're going to go over what lunging equipment I use, and then I'll show you how to lunge. So first off, we have Blizzard in her bridle. Now typically I would lunge a horse in a halter, but because we're also going to use side reins on her today, we need our bridle so they can connect to the bit. And I'll explain more about side reins later. But we have Blizzard's bridle on. And then connected to her bit, we have her leading V, so that I can attach my lunge line. Then we have our lunge line, which I said controls the size and shape of the circle and where Blizzard's going. Then I have my lunge whip, which acts as a driving aid because I can't really put my leg on her as if I were under saddle. So this just acts as a little bit extra if I need to motivate her more to keep going. All right, Shannon's gonna need to take a big step back over to E or C. And then I'm gonna send Blizzard out. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to point my belly button at Blizzard's hip. And I'm gonna ask her to move out of my space. Then to make my circle bigger, I'm going to give her more lunge line. And I'm going to keep my belly button pointed at her head, because that's just going to tell her to keep going. Normally I would warm her up a little bit more at the walk, but she is pretty excited and ready to get working today, so I'm not going to make her walk. Just because walking is one of the hardest gaits to do on the lunge line. It's much easier for them to trot and to canter. I'm going to ask her to move out. I'm going to point my whip at her shoulder because she keeps coming a little too close, so my lunge line ends up on the ground, which we don't want because then she could step on it or I can step on it. Good, and she's maintaining a good pace, so I don't have to ask her to be more forward. She's nice and forward on her own. My biggest concern right now is just making sure her circle stays nice and big so that she doesn't get too close to me and that my lunge line doesn't touch the ground. Okay, and that's all my whip is really doing. Anytime she gets too close, I'm going to flick my whip at her so she knows to move away. Then when I want to change direction, I'm going to tuck my whip under my armpit and I'm going to back up. Good girl. And then to change direction, I'm going to put my whip in my other hand and move my belly button to her other hip. Then to make my circle bigger, point my belly button at her hip and give her more lunge line. I'm going to hold my lunge line just like I hold a lead rope. I never want to wrap it around my hands. I'm always going to loop it through my fingers, not around. to reinforce that I want my circle bigger. So that my lunge leg doesn't drag on the ground. Bigger. I'm going to back up so she turns and faces me. Then we're going to change directions and canter the other way. It's much easier for a horse to work on a bigger circle versus on a smaller circle. Then the turns are not quite as tight. Bigger circle. Not yet. Bigger circle. That's it. Blizzard's anticipating that I'm going to ask her to canter. Okay. Now that she's in a more relaxed trot, is not anticipating I'm going to ask her. Good girl. And since the last time when she ignored my kiss and didn't canter, I popped my whip. This time she knew that when I gave her a kiss, she needed to canter. And she's keeping her circle a nice size, a little slippery. So I don't need to point my whip at her shoulder. Good rod. Big rod. And I always want to keep a triangle between my body and Blizzard's body. So Blizzard's body is the base of the triangle, my arms make up the sides, and then my body is the tip of the triangle. Good, and now that Blizzard is all warmed up, I'm going to show you how we use side reins when we're lunging a horse. Good girl. All right, you can come on back a little closer, Shannon. All right, I'll quickly just explain what side reins are, and then I'll show you guys how we use them. So for Blizzard, she has not used side reins very much, at least since I've been working with her at Hope Haven. So I keep them nice and loose, but basically what they are is they're just a training tool that acts as the rider's hands when there isn't a rider on the horse's back. So it's really good for introducing more contact without them having to worry about a rider being on their back. So they can kind of move and figure it out on their own before we add the rider concept in too. So essentially what it looks like is this is a side rein. It has a little rubber donut in the middle, so it has some give to it. But what happens is we connect it to the bit. I'm not going to do it just yet because I'm going to explain some more before I show you. But it connects to the bit, and then this, as she's working and moving, it works the bit in her mouth to encourage her to come over her back and push from her bum a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to loosen them all the way off. So that way it's not too tight on her mouth, because we don't really want to hold her head in one place. We just want to encourage her to bring her head a little lower and engage her back. So this is plenty long. It'll be nice and loopy once it's attached, but I'm going to go adjust the other side first before we clip this side on. Oh goodness. I'm going to make sure my surcingle is nice and tight, which is what's holding my side reins on. We're going to adjust this side too, all the way loose. And we're going to clip this side on. And the same thing over here. Surcingle nice and tight. side rein on. Shannon's gonna need to move out of the way again. Now we don't want Blizzard standing too long with her side rein connected. So right away I'm gonna put her back to work. Just because it's the forward motion of her working into the bridle that makes the side rein work. If there's no forward motion, then they're going to end up holding Blizzard's head in place, and that's not super comfortable and not really what we want. You can see they're nice and loopy, but now Blizzard's head is starting to come a little bit lower as we add more forward motion. And then she's starting to push from her thumb a little bit more. So really with side reins, all we really use them for is to make our lunging sessions a little bit more productive. So that we get some hind bend engagement in our lunging sessions. Good girl. And still keeping the triangle of her body and my body to tell her to keep moving forward. Now we'll ask her to canter. Oh, wrong lead. Good God, good girl. We'll try again. There. Good. And for Blizzard, the side reins could be a little tighter. We could ask her for a little bit more contact, a little bit more engagement, but since these are fairly new to her, we don't want to make them too tight too quickly. This is only her second time ever having them on, at least with me working with her. So we're going to work up to getting them a little tighter. Good girl. And canter. Good girl. The difference when you lunge with side reins is that I'm actually going to go to her rather than bringing her to me. I don't want her making any sharp turns with her side reins on. And then since I've got my leading knee on, I can change directions and send her the other way. Good, and that way we get two nice smooth turns as we change directions, rather than her making a sharp turn to turn in towards me to change direction. Good. don't want to hold Blizzard's head in place while she's standing and being a good girl. And that's how you lunge a horse. And so we're gonna go do that with the rest of the Hope Haven herd that needs to work today.